Hello. So today's lesson is about masterclass of full pipeline asset creation. Uh, so can anyone evaluate the connection for me? How well can you see? Hello, Sarang. How are you doing? So am I audible and the video quality is good? Okay. So I'll move to next slide then. So basically it is get always starts with who am I? So is the next slide visible for you guys? Yeah. So I started my 3D learning, 3D game design learning right after school. Actually, I got fascinated with the game designing. One of my senior from school was into 3D, some kind of VFX making movies and all. So he once attended a seminar into my school. So that's when I just like get interacted with the game designing and all. So like there is an industry like this and all. So right after my school, I started learning 3D at Picasso Animation School. And after 1.5 year of my studying, I just started working as a 3D artist, as a freelance 3D artist. And after 1.5 year, I got my first job in Sumo video games in Indian studio. And currently, I'm working with EA and working remotely. So I've been part of various AAA title games and mobile games, and also with Apple Arcade. Uh, so in Sumo video games, I worked around like 5 or 6 titles. So few of them are here, like Hood Outlaws and Legends. It was a first person, like arcade game, treasure hunting game, and Little Big Planet, Sackboy, a big adventure with Sony, and Little Orpheus with Apple Arcade, and Team Sonic Racing. We all played maybe in our childhoods, and joined EA Studio in 2022. And I've been since then I've been part of the Sims Free Play for mobile. And yeah, so what we will cover today. So we'll give an intro of AAA asset creation pipeline. So for today's lesson, we will be covering like modeling a 3D draft, in general about the draft, and finding references and how to use them, and why they are necessary, and blocking out. After that, we'll add some secondary forms and thinning. We'll do the thinning and the importance of details and how damage makes the model interesting. So I'll talk about the process first, and then then I will demonstrate it. So so in this lesson, we will be getting a brief overview of creating a 3D asset for AAA video games. And we are going to start from scratch with the design and take it to final importing into Unreal Engine. Cause Unreal Engine is mostly used into AAA video games, because it's a real-time render game engine and all. So that's why we chose Unreal Engine for it. So we'll start with the introduction to pipeline. So there are few pointers that I will provide you ahead and their overviews, like in my speaking session. So we will start with creating a 3D draft or a blockout. It's called a blockout as well. And after that, we'll create high poly and then low poly and then UV, bake, texture, and importing into Unreal Engine, the final stage. So about the draft, uh, we are going to create a draft for our 3D model. We will start with collecting some references. After that, we will move to the basic intro of Autodesk Maya and block out our model. After that, we'll add secondary forms and coloring it, color our draft, and knowing the importance of details. After this will come our high poly. So high poly, by the name, you can like get the idea that a high poly model is. Uh, has high number of polygons. So what are polygons? Polygons are the basic blocks of our 3D geometry. Okay, they are actually 2D geometric planes, usually triangles or squares, arranged in a 3D space to form a shape. They are like pixels in a digital picture. High poly models are typically high poly models are typically used to add each and every detail that we can find in our reference to our model. Okay, it's really necessary to create a high poly because we will transfer these details to our low poly model that will come after high poly through the baking process. So what are low poly? As I said earlier, like you can just get the idea of low poly by the name of it, because it has lower polygons. Okay, and why we create a low polys in AAA games? Because they are really efficient, and they are easy to render in our real-time engines, game engines like Unreal, Unity, and all. That's why we create a low poly. And then after that, doing low poly, we will do like UVs. There are like tools dedicated to these in our 3D software itself. Like in you can find UV tool kits in Maya, Blender, or Max, or whatever the 3D like creation software you use. So after doing our UVs, optimized UVs, we will optimize them according to the like game creation. After this, we'll bake. So why we bake? Game engines usually use low poly models to get the best frame rate. So like a player can enjoy the game, okay, at the best speed, best frame rate that can be possible. So there are few techniques to transfer all the details the high poly we created to low poly. So there are few maps called normal map, ambient occlusion, or position maps, and like world space normal map or something. So transferring all the details from high poly to low poly, this process is called baking. Okay, to make our low poly like look more detailed and all like that. And after this, we'll use substance painter to do our textures, and we will use substance painter for baking as well. uh, so we will focus on different materials and approach for them. We will and sometimes we maybe use Photoshop here and there to quickly make some like alphas or stickers, or like text, to like get the actual result in substance painter. And after our final texturing, once we are done with the texturing, we will like export our meshes and textures uh, from the substance painter, and we will import into Unreal Engine, and like quickly do a asset integration into engine. We'll get a basic knowledge of that. So that was about the introduction, and I'll just move to the today's session. Like what like we are going to cover draft today. It will This class will be a three-part sessions. So today is all about the draft and creating secondary forms, and giving material basic colors to make it look interesting. So draft. As I told earlier, a 3D draft, also known as blockout in common language, serves as an essential starting point in the creation process. It acts as a base presentation of the final 3D model, and plays a crucial role in defining the overall shape and development process of asset. How it is going to be look like in game. Okay, and so the process of creating 3D draft or blockout eventually revolves around creating basic shapes from existing primitives that we have in our 3D softwares. So each 3D tool, 3D software have basic primitives, which are called polygons. It sets the overall scale and proportions and form to the our model. So we'll start with the references. So what are references? References are actually basic uh, primitives, basic image resources. I'll just go ahead and share my uh, reference collage that I collected for creating the asset. So the software I used is PureRef actually is really really good software to collecting references. uh, Finding references is not much difficult if you are like wondering like where we can find the references and all. So we are living in Google era, internet era, so we have a lot of options to find the references on. So we can just directly type the name in Google and we can find a million of options, a million of references images on Google itself. And artists usually use Pinterest, and we can go to the art station as well. There are some pages, popular pages like DeviantArt, and they can provide a lot of like references. And I think from my perspective, I always look on ArtStation as well. If like a good artist have created something like this earlier in the like in his career, or he worked something similar like this. So like I can get the idea, like how much like details I can add to it, and how good like I can get I can like uh, get a good idea of process also. They sometimes like put breakdowns if you're looking to like create some specific material, or like something some technique, you're trying to find some techniques, you can find on ArtStation or DeviantArt as well, or you can read forums as well. So why references are important? Because we should definitely analyze references, because they give us like freedom to study details. Okay, so that we can give the attention to detail, and we can look for textures in them. Like at this image you can see like what kind of old vintage TVs used to be. They were have their like a body frame in wooden, and they have like back plastic, and they have like front something like that. uh, and we can get the idea of composition as well, like in this reference. After making our model, like how we going to present it, we can like overall find the composition, what composition we are going to follow, or maybe about the lighting, what kind of lighting we want, in which kind of environment we are going to keep our model and asset. So and instead of this, we can use references to get inspiration and generate ideas also. Like I want something, like I want this kind of detail in like in background of my TV. Or if someone created any kind of TV at the in like art session, they use some kind of stickers, or they are telling a story, like what kind of like a past this object has been through. Okay, so creating a story, it really essential and important, because it gives your model all over like look and feel. uh, and because of references we can look for like realism and accuracy also, and they help us understanding in proportions and details. They can also solve problems like during asset creations as well. Like if imagine if I just collected like one reference of this TV from back and from front itself, but I will not be able to like get the idea of what is on the other side. So that's why I always look for more and more references as much you can like find, not to go like bunkers on this. Just find like multiple around 20-25 references would be good enough to give you an all over idea. So if you miss some detail, you can find it into some other reference. That's why references are like important. So once we like collect our references and like collect them in pure ref, we can just go ahead and save our uh, a pure ref file, and we can use it later on while we are creating the asset. So that's all from the reference perspective of. And after this we will like move to blocking out. So blocking out, as I told earlier, it's the basic and the first initial stage. Why it is important? Like when I started my 3D learning, I used to like find a image and just directly like implement it into Maya. And there has been like a lot of issues was used to occur at the creation process, and that was a bit hectic to go back and like redo all the work. So that's why creating blockout is like essential, and it's It refers to the initial stage of like creating an object or character. Okay, whatever we are creating, maybe whether it is like a character or a prop or an environment or whatever it is, like, or creating a texture. So so s- Character. Okay, so we will use basic shapes, geometric. Okay, basic shape geometry, which is called primitives, as I told you earlier. So there are few kind of primitives in Maya, so I'll demonstrate them, like after some time. In Okay, so these primitives, why we create them, because these primitives, like, act as a placeholder to create the overall form and the proportion of our model, and before adding more detail to geometry. Give me a second. Yeah. Yeah. So primitives are like simple geometry. They are like a few options like cubes, spheres, or cone shapes, and disc or plane, or like tubes, something like that. Okay, so they are all available in each kind of 3D tool. Like if you use Blender, Maya, or Max, whatever is your preference, you can find them all. Like in all of them. So uh, after that, we will move to like giving our block out proportions. Look for proportions, give it a good proportion and layout. So why we do that? Because because the like they define the all over shape, and yeah, pretty much that's it. They define all over the size, scale, and shape of the object. So proportions are actually the size and scale of different sizes and scales of an asset, or there are few different objects. So we can define, okay, their size scale by proportions. Okay, so this is essential to do, because I think having a good proportionate model will help you to achieve the realism and accuracy while creating a model. Yeah. And after that we will look for silhouettes in like in each and every tool. We get an option to like completely like delete all the lights, and we just can like check the outlines of the our model. So silhouette represents the actual outer shape or the outline of our object or character. It's like a shadow. If you imagine seeing a shadow, you can just like check its overall shape, like it's oval or it's cylindric or it's round, or like rectangular, whatever it is. So that is called silhouette. They play actually a crucial role in defining the overall visual appeal and readability of the model. Okay. And after this, we will move to the thinning and secondary forms. So thinning and secondary forms, along with the use of color, are essential element in making a draft expressive and visually appealing. Okay, so this refers to refining our existing blockout and adding variations and adding more details to our model. Like like if we are if we are creating a mobile asset, okay, mobile 3D model. So so the like a keypad one. So like adding a cube to the actual size and checking for the proportions, like was called blockout. And if we go ahead and add more details to like those old phones used to have antennas and buttons on them. So if you place like few simple shapes over there to like to get the exact idea of like which thing is on which place of the object. So that is like that is called a secondary form. And thinning is like like giving your model a realistic smoothing, or like we can achieve that by uh, bevel and crease, and there are a lot more options. And coloring a draft means like we'll assign few materials to the each and every like element of the object, and we will like give them colors, so it will look more appealing. And like it will just a bit mm, like visually appealing. That's all. That's the thing. And and the impact of detail and how damage makes the model more interesting. So people usually think about why we damage the assets, or why we create so much damage, or disturbance on the surfaces and all. So what happens, like if you make a plain 3D asset and give it a plain texture, and it will be brand new. So it's not like it will not show any kind of story or anything. So in games we like that story. Okay, that's why we create each and object with details and damages. So because it can give you the sense of telling a story by. Wait a second. Yeah, yeah. So now we will move to the blockout process. I'll demonstrate it. So uh, is my window visible for all? Yeah. So as I told you earlier, collecting references is necessity. I've collected all the references and I opened them in my another window, and I kept it there. And for if because we are doing a triple asset, it should be real time scale and all. So we should have always check for the assets. We should always check about their scale and size. Okay, so I have gone to Google and research before creating my model. So I kept their scale and sizes. There are few websites also that can provide you real world scales of different objects, like dimensions.com, or if you are making something something that can be available in Amazon or Flipkart, or any online shopping site. You can find their uh, size in the descriptions below there. So you'll get the idea of it. So for TV, yeah, I'll just introduce the Maya first. So this is our Maya, Autodesk Maya 2023. I am using this model, uh, the latest one, with all the updates. Yeah, so this is the all over UI of Maya. Okay, so Maya refers to illusion. Okay, Maya is a Hindi word, and it refers to illusion, creating something. So this is the all basic UI. You can find your file menu here. So from where you can open a scene, or save a scene, or optimize a scene, or clean up a scene. And there are a few other tools that we will talk about uh, while we were doing the asset creation. Okay, so basically I'll introduce with the primitives that I was talking about the polygons. So you can select. There's one more thing, like Maya gives us a freedom to do the object rigging, animation, and create particles VFX for movies and all as well, and we can render also. These are the menu for each respective options here. So we will just choose modeling. Okay, and by below you can find poly modeling. Okay, polys. So we have around seven kind of shapes: sphere. Okay, and yeah, and this one is called our grid. Okay, cube. We can just select the object, just left click on it and delete it. And cylinder, and cone, and torus, tubes and plane, and disk. Okay, so to move around our object in this is called viewport. Okay, if you press space button on your keyboard, you'll get these four views. One is refers to top, and one refers to front, and one refers to side, and this is our perspective view. Okay, and we can choose orthographic also from here. This is view cube. This is called view cube. So for move around into our viewport, to move around into our viewport, we usually just hold your alt button, and alt keyboard button, and just hold your left mouse button, and you can just move around easily. Okay, and to zoom in and zoom out, just hold your right mouse button with alt key itself, like this. Okay, you can just like move uh, in, zoom in and zoom out, and to pan you just like hold your middle mouse button with alt key, obviously. Okay, and I want to tell you like a few shortcuts as well, like for like switching to your view cameras. You can just like directly, if you want, you just keep pressing your space button. You'll find this all UI menus here as well, and you can just right click or left click. You can just like toggle between your each and every views. Yeah, so I'll start with the basics. Okay, an object have like object mode, which we are in, and there are few component modes like vertices. So each and every 3D object made out of few components, which includes edges, okay, and vertices and faces. Okay, this is the like basic geometry that we all read in our school time. Yeah, so we have like if we want to transform any shape or something like in our model, or like scale it or rotate it. So there are few tools that mentioned here. So this one is our, so if you press W, see, this one is our move tool, and the shortcut for is W. If you press W, you'll get the our move tool. You can just like move into each like any particular direction, particular axis, or you can just move it like freely in your viewport. And there are rotation tool. Okay, you can same with it. It gives you three dimensions. Okay, the blue one refers to the Z, as you can see here in the left corner of our viewport, and red gives us a control of x-axis, and like, and the blue one, this one neon, it gives the free rotation of object, complete object. And this one is our scale. Okay, so we can like scale our object to make it small or bigger, or like particularly you can like scale it in singular, and like in particular direction or something like that. Okay, that's from the tool side. And obviously we can like if you press control and Z, we can like undo our changes. And with control shift Z, we can redo our, we can do redo. Yeah, that's it. So I'll start with our, yeah, yeah, nothing. So we will start with blocking out our model. So as I told you earlier that I have kept the dimensions of it, found it on internet, and I made a note of it that I'll share the note with it. So I found these are the like uh, uh, dimensions for our objects. So we will be creating a TV model set with the Nintendo and console, with the cartridge as well, with the cassette itself. Okay, so yeah, dimensions. So I'll just quickly select a cube, and there is one more option like a shortcut. If you uh, press shift and right click on it, you'll find your primitives here as well, and a few other shapes as well. Okay, so I mostly use this one, but for the like if someone is new to Maya, or they are beginner, they can just select from here itself. So I create a poly here, and these are two attributes that we have like options Maya providers. One is channel box layer editor, and one is, if you press Control A, this is the shortcut to toggle between these, and one is attribute editor. So you can find that particular shape in like both of them here. You can just directly put your width, height, depth, or like each and every size here itself, or you can just like go to attribute editor and just like change from here itself also. uh, I use channel editor more. I'll tell you about this one is outliner. I'll tell you about this one a bit later. We can actually find our each and every mesh in the outline itself. Yeah. So as I like saved the sizes for my models. So my TV has a width of 92 centimeters. So the basic size preference of Maya is, like in centimeters. Okay, working units are in centimeters and angularly it's in degrees. You can find these settings here, and it's always to the y-axis up. Okay, it's a bit, like it's basic math and nothing else, nothing more than that. And the model height is that I have saved is 60 centimeters, and the depth is around 45 centimeters. Okay, I'll move it to the grid. Yeah, and you can, like move your object, snap your object by pressing X onto the grid. You can snap it. This is called our grid, as I told you earlier. This tells our working area. Okay, that's it. And I'll create another cube, move it further. I am giving it sizes respectively for our Nintendo. These are, as I told you in the, like speaking session earlier, that we will be going, like we will be creating a basic blockouts before, and then we will proceed with the shapes, and then we will give them, like secondary forms. Okay, these are the blockouts that my model should not, like exceed out of these shapes, because these are, like kind of setting a boundary for me. I'll manage a bit of, like I can, like tweak a bit, but for the game, for the asset creation in gaming, like we should stick to the, like sizes we have finalized or something. We can tweak it a bit here and there. That is manageable. And one more cube, one more blockout for our controller. I am adding our width again here 30, and the height is 4 centimeter, and the depth is 13 centimeter. Okay, this will be our controller for the console. We can, like adjust our pivot as well by, like if we press D, it frees our pivot, and we can, like snap it to grid, or snap it to any vertex or edges. So if you want to snap it to any vertex, just select V with it and drag with middle mouse button. You can select it to any vertex you want. And for if you want to snap it to grid, just press X. You can, like snap it to any grid point. And if you want to like, or if you want to, like give it select to any edge, just, like click on your left mouse button or face. But what happens with it, like it always takes this direction of UV, in which direction, like it uh, going. And we can, like adjust our pivot. If something like this happens, we can, like adjust our, always keep put our pivots access to world, like this world or object, something like it. There are few properties. So my pivot is, like not at the center of the mesh right now, so I'll just, like press space and go to modify menu, or you can just go to the modify menu here and press center pivot. It will, like go to the center of the mesh. Yeah. So now I'll add, like secondary details to it. So as I can see in our references, my TV has a, like different kind of back. So I'll just duplicate it by, like pressing Control plus D, or I can just, like duplicate it from here. But yeah, you can find duplicate and duplicate special in edit menu. So I'll just duplicate it with Control D. See, it's created a duplicate of it. And so I'm referring to this reference for the back panel of my TV. So I'll just create a shape like this. okay, by using scaling and other tools as well, to give me the same exact shape that I am looking for. In so so as I told you earlier that this is our proper complete block out, so we can't like move it further. So I'll look into my references for the width, like how much width I require for this one. So it's all about keep an eye on your references, like how and judging the all over scale and adjustments you're going to create on your model. So I'll just and here you can find our modeling toolkit. Okay, so by this we can adjust our like polygons by adding them, like we can add them, add a edge, or we can like extrude a face or something like that. We can yeah. So I'll just go ahead and add a edge here to make a separation, or like I can just duplicate it, move it back. I'll just go to component, I'll select the face, I move it here back, and I'll move my other poly here, and I snap it to V, snap it by V. Okay, so this is my back panel, and I am staying into the my given dimensions. So I'll just create, I'm trying to create this shape, I'm demonstrating it to you. So there are few different options. Okay, as you go further and get familiar with the software itself, you'll just use different methods. You can use different options, variations, or tools, or options to create whatever. I'll just quickly use the simple basic move tool, transformation tool, and scale tool. That's it, to get our proportion. I'll select the edge and I'll move it down according our reference. I'm looking into it on the other screen. Okay, so that is the enough slant that I want to get, and I'm thinking like I just made a bit bigger, so I'll move it back. I just selected the vertices. If you were not able to see it, I just move it a bit back. Yeah, I'll just select an edge again. I'll move it here, and this one as well. Okay, and I'll select the face and move it. I'm creating these blockouts according our references. I'll select the edge. You just hold. If you hold your right mouse button, you can just toggle between those edges and faces. Okay. So now you are getting the idea of our basic shape. It's a block out for the reference I'm seeing. Same for the other mesh, the Nintendo console unit. We'll look for the references, what kind of details we can add. Uh, like I'm just separating the elements as of now, but then we'll later we will add secondary forms like in screws, buttons, and all. Give them a place as well. Okay. So this is my bounding box. This is I'm reading it as a bounding box. You can just always go to any view and check your model from each and every angle. Always in other angles as well, if you are disturbing the shape of all over shape or model in other views. For me, I'm a bit I'm doing this from last 6 years. So for me it's I'm aware of that, if I'm making a mistake or not. Sometimes you are doing something changes, doing any changes in the perspective view, and sometimes you break it into other angle as well. So always check your mesh is neat and pretty straight and according to the references always. And always put your eyes on reference in each and every minute. Just create this habit to look for the references, for the details and all. So I'll move to the Nintendo now. So as I can see this in this references, yeah, as I can see in this references, like it has a base like this, and it has a top separate element like this. So I'll create two more. I'll add two more elements to it according to our references. Yeah, sorry for that glitch. I'm not sure what happened. Yeah, actually my pure ref was crashed. Yeah, so I'll just duplicate it by pressing Control D, or just you can go ahead in edit mode and just duplicate it. So try to remember each and every shortcuts. Uh, it helps a lot. Yeah. So I'll duplicate a plane and scale it. I'll look for the gap between it, this element and this element. I'll scale it to our bounding box and move it a little low so I can get the idea of our overall shape. Is like this. I think I need to scale it up, scale it a bit more, move it further. Yeah. And for the same, I'll create for the base. I'll copy it, and by pressing 4 you can use just check the wireframe of the object. Okay, I'll just move this vertices a bit up. I'll duplicate it. I'll move it below. See, my pivot is not in the center of the object, so as I told earlier, I'll just go to modify and center my pivot. It gives me good control of it. I'll move it into the base. I'll move my main body a bit up. I'm looking into the references. I'll give it the height like this. So I have a base for this one. Yeah. So now I'll move to you know secondary forms. So we can define our secondary forms by I'll give the all over shape to the model. Yeah. So I'll start with this one. Always keep in mind that you need to delete unnecessary faces or edges or vertices, because it will save you space in UVs, and it will optimize your game data as well. It reduces the uh, burden. If like imagine if you are using thousands of assets like this in games, and you are keeping faces like this, they are not relevant or not able to seen by player or something like that. So deleting them will help to increase the frame rate of game engine and all. Yeah. So I'll just now move to the adding secondary forms. So I mostly use it by giving bevel to my model. So yeah, so this here you can find the bevel menu. Just control it by middle mouse button, or you can just drag your left uh, mouse button here, and you can add more segments in it, two, three, four, how much you want. It depends on your references. Okay, I'm looking into reference. Yeah, this is the all over feel I want for TV. Yeah, Okay, I'll create the mm, other forms as well. I'll add the buttons. Yeah. So I'll use two basic cylinders. So if you want to use your shape not to be, like each time you create a shape or select a polygon here and it goes to the zero in the center of the grid, you can, like just opt for this option, interactive creation. It gives you, like power to create uh, like a primitive anywhere on the grid if you want. See, like this, I've created a cylinder, but according my reference it's a bit big. Just scale it down. Wait. See, this is my main reference that I'm following. Oh, yeah, I'll just scale it down. I'll place it somewhere here. I think that is a correct scale and correct position. I think they are bigger right now, but bigger. Just, yeah, I think that's good enough for me. I'll add a section into this. Yeah, so I'll tell you about the modeling toolkit. This is our modeling toolkit, and you can find these options here as well. And the display, edit mesh, or edit or modify each and every options. So I'll just, or you can just find these right here. Shift right click. I consider the shortcuts as usually. So I'm going to add a edge in center of it to get a, by connect tool. It's also like you can give as much as, edges. You can put as much as edges you want in your, like mesh, to, like separate this by adding here numbers. See, if I want 5, I want 10, something like that, but I only require 4. 4 as of now. We want this constant. So what I used to, like get the constant space, like from all the borders and all the corners, I just add in an edge and just bevel it to the exact value. And you can just, like move it by, just checking it, or uh, see. Yes, I'll add one more edge here. Yeah. So this I'm introducing with the extrude tool. You just select your face and you can like extrude it, shift right click, extrude face. So for each component, like if you are on the edge mode, you can just shift right click and find the related modeling toolkit, related options to deformers, or uh, scaling or extruding, or like beveling the edges or adding any edges, more loops, reducing loops, or something like that. You can find that properties related to edges to modify them in this menu. And if you select like faces, you can find shift right click and you can find all the properties, like to adjust your face or face. And if you selected what this is, shift right click and you can find all the options like faces and edges. Yeah, so I'll just go ahead and select this face because I need an extrusion for my display. So I'll just extrude it, and this works like a like a combined transform and scale tool. By clicking on these boxes, you can scale it. See, you can scale it, and by clicking on these arrows, you can move it and move back like a transform tool. So we need to first scale it. Okay, so give it a thickness. Oh, yeah, already thickness. We'll just scale it. Again. Sorry guys, it's a bit hot today. And humid as well. Yeah. This is a bit rectangular shape. We will give it to curve by using a bevel tool and all. So I'll add more secondary forms to it. I'll reduce this one, delete this one, unnecessary ones as of now. I'll connect this. We can connect by using multicut like this. Why I did this, because like it will support me to give a nice bevel and nice topology to my model. Connect, connect, connect tool. We can use connect tool as well, or we can use multicut as I showed you earlier. Yeah. In real world, no shape is like exact complete sharp. This looks at that's odd. That's why we will add bevel, and we will like use this particular mesh to create our high poly. So that's why I'll like I'll quickly add few of the like details and create it more realistic. I used bevel here. Okay, and I'll use bevel here as well. I'll go into front to deselect all unwanted edges. I'll just I think I need to take this mesh a bit out. You can always, move shapes around if necessary by pressing control and using my marquee. I'll just, can deselect them or select them by, just drag dropping my left mouse button. Now, I think, yeah, by pressing 4, I'll just snap it. So I'm using a merge vertex to center tool. If I go to a select a vertex and shift right click, and I can find the merge vertices or target weld tool. So I'm using a target weld tool here to just weld these corners here. Yeah. And for these shorter cuts, I will give them a bevel separately. You just have to look for the curve if it's the same. No, I don't think. Okay. Yeah. Guys, excuse me for a second. Yeah. Hello. Sorry for interruption. Yeah, so I'll just delete it and do it again because I'm having some issue with my bevel tool here. Yeah. I'll look for the shape. I'll just fill this hole by selecting the fill hole, and I'm going to keep my display separated from my main mesh. Okay, I'll just give it export, extrude, like these edges, step back further. Okay, bevel it later. As you all can see, it's a bit like less curved from these corners, and a bit much like curved from these corners. So I have to use like bevels multiple times, and use like connect tools to like merge it on later side, that later, and that's why I separated my display here at first. Okay, so I'll just select these edges, go to front menu and deselected not wanted, which I don't want. Just check, press 4 and check if is there any other edges are selecting right now. I'll just look at it. This one comes. I'm adding few segments. Okay, now I'll bake this one. Merging vertices. Yeah, we'll bevel this one. Something this happened with my mesh actually. I'm not sure what. Might be a duplicate face. Yeah. Yeah. There was a duplicate face behind it. I'm gonna hide them by pressing H. Most them combine. We can directly like you can see here that we can bevel the faces as well. We'll just merge these into one. So beveled always not works, like as you want it to be. It kind of creates few artifacts here and there. So we need to, merge those layers manually, connect those layers manually. It depends, like what the kind of shape you are creating, and how complex it is. That's why. So I'll just, merge them accordingly with each and every one, like this. Always try to model your mesh into quads. The less use of creating a model till high poly with quads will be very helpful, like this. I require one more edge here. Sorry. And one thing more, you can just, select any component and just, move them to control right click, and you convert them into edges or selection of faces or whatever it is, whatever you want. Yeah. So I need to take it out a bit outside. I think it's a bit smaller, and it's a bit smaller, so I'll scale it. Yeah. Now I'll connect these edges. Yeah. And by pressing G, you can repeat your last command, or last action what you did by pressing G, like this. G. G. See, Bevel left me with an artifact. Yeah, some extra vertices with extra edges, so I had to delete them. Always look around for those. In a blockout process, you do not need to, check for those as much, but for the high poly, it is necessary to delete extra polygons or n-gons. N-gons are actually those polys which have like more than quads, more than four vertices, or they are five facing, or like five cornered or something like that. So why I've added these edges here, because I just want to connect, give them a connection just here, because when I'll proceed with high poly, or I'll give it to a smoothing, these will create some artifacts here. This will leave me with a broken smoothing, or something like that. I'm connecting these here. I'll delete these all in our low poly model. We have few artifacts here as well. Yeah, the edge here, one here. See, you are seeing me using a different options, like a different size. It actually, I don't think about it. It just eventually comes in my mind, like what will be helpful here. I was adding edges by using connect tool, but you saw me like doing a bevel here to just get an extra edge. So it depends on you. It's all like an artistic choice, like whatever you want. We'll just connect these here. This. See, this is our blockout for our TV. I'll just unhide these that I've hidden earlier by pressing Shift H. By pressing H, you can hide it, and by pressing Shift H, you can unhide these meshes, or you can just like find these here in Editor or Modify. I don't build. I actually barely use them, so I'm not sure which option is where, because I remember them as handy with me here by pressing Shift H, Shift, right click Control like this. Yeah. So now I'll look for Nintendo Blockout. So it is something, as I told earlier, I'll delete the unwanted faces and I'll align it to the main body surface. So I'll just snap it with pressing V. It will snap to the vertices. See, just pressing V and moving your left mouse button, it will go and just snap to the vertices. See, you can see, just like this. So, has to be a sec, built like this, and the ground shape has shape like this. Look at take. Now we will merge these shapes, these elements together. Hide this one. Level it. Because I want to merge, weld the vertices. That's why I have to delete unwanted faces. I deleted from it earlier. I'll delete from this as well. Okay. What a bit further. Combine it. Weld these. By pressing G, I can repeat my command, which I gave it. Locking out sometimes can get boring because in the industry, like as an artist, you usually get blocked out meshes. We don't usually create blockouts. Now I'll just move to the vertex mode, select all the vertices and just merge vertices. Sometimes they do not merge, so you can just increase their threshold here. Now they are properly merged, I guess. Yeah. I have an Ngon here, so I'll just fix it as well. Just add an edge loop here and merge it as well. Now it's a complete single mesh. So by pressing 3 you can check the smooth version of your mesh. It helps in certain ways, like if you have any kind of like not merged mm, uh, vertex or face behind your already existing mesh. It shows some artifacts like it did with the TV when we were creating it. Just and moving back, back and forth is the process also. So I'll just select these and give it a bevel, nice round cornered, as it's visible in references. See, yeah, we'll go ahead and connect these edges. I'll use multi-cut because I can't use a connect tool because I have these edges. Multi-cut can go through the existing edges. Just check your model from different angles. Yeah, nice. Just checking this element height again to make sure if like is it close as I want it to be by looking into the references. Yeah, I think I need to move it a little bit lower. Yeah, we'll move to our controller now. First, I'll give it a basic shape that the controller is in. So I'll add a edge here. Want a single edge. Just drag drop with control and middle mouse button. I'll just bevel it. No, I think a better choice will be we can use cylinders for each corner. Merge two cylinders together. We'll snap it to this edge. I'm snapping it with the pivot. Control D. Yeah, this is the actual size I want. Yeah, I'll just go to face mode and delete these two. Combine them, combine and separate meshes, and bridge them. Before that, I'll need to scale it to our actual size. So I'm undoing. Drag and drop. So this is the actual bounding box, the complete size. So we'll need to add buttons here as well. So I'm like keeping our cylindric shapes a bit low. Just at this point, that would be enough. Yeah. Go to top view, delete these faces, combine it, and bridge it. Yeah. We can just extrude them and scale them together and go to vertex mode and merge them. We can do either do this and or we have a short way of doing this that is called bridge. If you select any edge and right click it, you'll find the option here bridge. It has different properties as well. You can explore it. We will talk about it in like if there is smooth path, like if you want a more like a smooth path rather than having a linear path, you can connect it, or you can have a smooth path plus curve if you want a curve in this shape, but it auto detects this. If see, I'll give it a show here. I'll enter three divisions and apply it. See what it does. See, usually it just, you can just enter divisions here. We don't want any divisions as of now. Apply it. See, so it bridges it and it keeps that in mind for next time. Those settings, we'll just merge it. So we have our console for the blockout. Now we'll move to add few buttons to Nintendo and our controller. We'll turn on the wireframe from here. Wireframe on shaded. It's called wireframe on shaded. You can check your wireframe on shaded mode as well. You don't have to press 4 and 5 again and again. So I'll just quickly create buttons. I'll just add a center edge so I can like keep that into the center. Now this is a one main button for the eject. Second button here. We can duplicate by placing its pivot. I can just delete the extra pieces. Adding these habits of like removing not needed faces or vertices or edges from the beginning, it's really helpful. It's a good habit. Just move it and we will tilt it a bit, rotate it according our model. Right. Just like this. Yeah. uh, so you don't have to like create each and every time the shape for it. So you just like set your pivot in center of, if your object is in center of a grid, you can just like press D and X and put it onto any grid point. and just like duplicate it by pressing Control and D. You just have to freeze your transformation first and go to modify. So I'll just show you. So these are the transformation, because I like rotated it, scaled it, and moved it from like one to another location on the grid. So it records the translation values here in the channel box editor or attribute editor. If I press 0, it goes to its original location in on x-axis. If I press Y, 0, so it goes on the its origin uh, location. So that's why we need to first go to modify and freeze transformation, and after that press D and V. I'll duplicate it by pressing Control D. This is one way. And if you don't want to do like this, you can just like edit and duplicate here as well, or duplicate with transform, Shift D. So I'll Control D, and I just like want this mesh on the same axis but on the other side. So I'll just enter the values here in the scale. I just put -1, so it'll go on the exact same location that it has here, not point one, 0.001, any kind of like same exact space, it will go there. So I'll move let's see, this one, and I'll make a blockout for our cartridge as well, the cassette. And just look into the reference for the thickness and all. Delete it. We are not going to delete the lower phase because we will going to add details over there as well. I'm just like setting a blockout as of now. Yeah, we will create a wire and socket as well. Yeah, for creating the socket. I'm looking into the reference. I couldn't find it where it is. That's why references are necessary. Oh yeah, I found it. I have a lot of bundle of the references. So it, yeah, here. So I'll again make a cube. I'll set the scale and proportions accordingly. So that's how my socket will look like. I'll scale it. This I require it. I want it. This thick. That's it. I want to increase the thickness of this one a bit. Yeah. For creating wire, we will I'll share a technique with you by extruding uh, a plane, a disc on a curve. So Maya, as I told you earlier, like it gives us many options to play with. There is a poly modeling, there's curves and surface modeling, and there is knobs modeling as well. They like artists barely use these techniques, but like it varies on each and every person and their choices. Sometimes they find it easier to like find a technique with knobs, creating something from knobs or curves. So I'll just create a curve. You can find the curve here in create menu, create. So it's called curve tool. Okay, and it's CV curve tool. So imagine if I want to create a wire like this. Okay, something like this. It gives me like rather than vertices, it gives me control vertex. Okay, so if I move it, smoothly, you can see how, like smooth and soft this is, rather than normal curves or vertices. See, yeah. And we will just, like create a cylinder, or we can just directly use a disk as well, but keep a bit low segments. It provides us, like subdivision control. In the channel attribute, we can, like control the subdivisions, like how much we want it. It shows me into the axis. If I enter 20, it will automatically add 20 subdivisions to my cylinder. If I enter, like a 2, so a cylinder can't be made out of 2. Depends on the low poly itself. So we will be keeping around 16. Okay, I'll tell you why I kept 16 for it. There is a process called optimization in asset creation. Uh, uh, what it tells, like if we have a bigger cylinder, okay, it's kind of a level of detail. If we have a bigger cylinder like this, okay, and a smaller cylinder like this, if you for the process of level detail, if we, like keep, if we are keeping, like a 20 axis subdivisions in a cylinder, this like this big, and we are keeping 20 in this, and for this smaller one, and for this 20 same for the smaller one. So it's not like it's not appropriate, because in game, like if asset is bigger, we need, like more polish for it to, like to make it feel real or accurate, or like smooth in game. For this, what like game developers do, they create, like they kind of keep like it depends on the level of detail, or like uh, a poly target that we are aiming in an asset for a game. So if so suppose I'm keeping 36 subdivision for the bigger one, so like I can keep 20 for the middle one, or for smaller one, I kind of keep around 12, I guess. They both, like from a distance, they all three will look, like round to me. So that's why I kept 16 like segments for this one, because this will be a wire. And I'll when I will make a low poly, I'll, like it will be easier for me to keep it at low count. So by pressing C, we can, like align it to our curve. See, it's snapped now. It's a bit hectic because it snaps when you really close to it. We need to just delete these edges. Just delete, don't shift delete, okay? And if you select its faces, just freeze transformation. If you select its faces and then shift left mouse click button, select your curve as well, and then if you press extrude, okay, I need to reverse face, okay. So each curve have a starting point and ending point. So this block, this small cube, refers to starting point, and this means to ending point. Okay, so I'll just select the face and shift right click onto the curve and just extrude it. See, and as I add divisions to it, it will feel like a wire. It feel like a pipe, but I don't require this thick. So I'll just scale it according my references, how big I want. Think that will be enough in comparison. Yeah, a bit smaller. By pressing F, you can focus on it. Each object, extrude. Yeah, offset. Sorry, divisions. And divisions. You can connect wires. So just look at channel editor for now. You can find that properties here as well, like whichever option I'm opting, whichever like if I'm extruding, or like I'm giving if I'm giving any edge loops, adding edge loops or something, I can find those like details here as well. Once I go to the object mode and reselect it, this will like will be here in the history, in the inputs. If you just like click on it, you'll again find it. You can again like work on it. If you want to like increase subdivisions, I'll just like show you. I'll quickly show you. I'll add 50, so it'll become 50. If I want to add 8 100 or something like that, it'll okay. Once you delete, and you can still control it with the curves. You can still control it by selecting the curve. See, by controlling, that's why it's called control vertex. Okay, you can like move your, but always like do it carefully, because sometimes it like deforms your shape. See, like this. Move it. See, so like getting actual results for some complex wiring or something, like you have to sometimes do it manually, or there are a few curve nodes or other scripts as well to create stuff like this. Yeah, so for coloring, like we can just like select the wanted faces, whatever we want, and just right click on it, single right click, and just we can like assign new materials or assign favorite materials. These favorite materials are the presets that exist in Maya. So you can just like select any blend Lambert metal. Blend comes with a bit of shyness in it. See, as you can see, and you can just adjust colors from here. Yes, give different colors or whatever the feel you want. I don't much like use it, uh, because when you're creating a process, like you have a strict deadlines, and you have to like give that goal. So we just proceed with the high poly, low poly, and that's it. So that's for today. If anyone have any questions, they can drop me. Does anyone have any questions? They, they are free to ask or comment me in the box or Discord channel. you can scan this QR code and join us on Discord. Thanks to you all for joining. Discord link is QR code is visible for you all. You can just join it.